We work in a world filled with devices that can monitor us, locate us, and tell us what to do. And that raises the question, who watches you work? And how does work change when you know someone's watching you do it? There's one industry that's asking that question more than ever: trucking.
Self-driving semi-trucks programmed to follow routes from GPS systems while the driver rests.
Over time, automation will dramatically change work for the 3.5 million truck drivers in America. But until then, truckers are going to be monitored and managed by computers like never before. And if you want to know what happens when people start to reject that kind of monitoring, here's what that looks like.
It's like wearing an ankle bracelet where you're being tracked every move you make.
We are against this law because this is ruining our truckers' life.
I want the government to get out of the way and give you the opportunity to be a success.
This is the Department of Transportation during a week of trucker-organized demonstrations in October 2017.
They're here protesting these things called electronic logging devices, or ELDs. What these are they're protesting these things called... These are computers that go inside a car, hook up to the car's engine and monitor location, driving status, how fast a car is going, and basically report that information back to an employer.
They also manage a driver's workday based on a strict schedule designed by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to limit driver fatigue. Truckers can drive for a maximum of 11 hours per day, but they have to take a 30-minute break somewhere in between. They can work an additional 3 non-driving hours, but have to take a 10-hour break before they can start driving again. As of December 2017, these devices are mandatory in all trucks across the country.
Oftentimes, when we talk about automation in trucking and in other workplace contexts, there's a big concern about a massive spike in unemployment. But oftentimes the way this gets discussed is that it's like human, robot, and you see a big spike in unemployment. And what I think is more realistic is that like the curve is more gradual, right? So you do see robots starting to get integrated into the work, but not in this sudden way. That invites this kind of interesting question, which is like, well, what happens along the curve? And the answer is that you're going to see more integration between machines carrying out some part of the job and humans carrying out some part of the job.
Truckers across the US have been preparing for the first big step on that curve, working alongside ELDs.
This is ELD right here.
Talking about the ELD mandate.
Transitioning everyone into the ELDs now.
But the one-size-fits-all schedule that this device imposes is not new. The strict breakdown of driving, non-driving, and sleeping time has been used in one form or another since 1938. The longer drivers go without a break, the higher the rate of fatigue-related accidents. So the system was designed to limit a trucker's driving time to fit natural sleep patterns.
So this is kind of like the analog technology that the digital one is supposed to replace.
But circumventing those rules was quite common with paper logbooks, since they could be changed by hand.
Like if you sat down and looked at this for 5 minutes, you would figure out how to falsify it if you needed to, right? It's like pretty imprecise.
So ELDs aren't necessarily creating any new rules, but they're making the existing ones a lot harder to break. For truckers paid by the mile, that translates into an intense pressure to drive as much as they possibly can within the 11-hour time limit. They can't pause without actively losing money.
As soon as you turn that key on in the truck, they're watching you. If you're tired, you can't stop and take a nap. If you need to stop and you hit a road construction, a snowstorm, your hours are ticking.
Many of the truckers who protested in DC have near-perfect safety records after driving millions of miles over their careers, and they're doubtful that a device that tells them how to structure their days will make them any safer. A 2014 report by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration found that drivers who used ELDs had an 11.7% reduction in total crash rate and a 5.1% reduction in preventable crash rate. But since only a limited group of drivers were using ELDs when the study was conducted, it's hard to know how representative those safety numbers are. A 2016 report by a committee of the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine stated that there simply isn't enough data on fatigue-related crash rates more broadly, and argued that further research is needed before changing the law that sets drive time limits.
We're not computers. We don't have an off button. The thing this does do is it forces you to get up and go if you're tired. It forces you to get up and go if you don't feel good. You do not have the choice with this machine to drive like we used to. And it's not about running 24 hours a day. It's about making a common sense decision on how you feel, how the road conditions are, whether or not you want to run through rush hour, etc., etc., etc.
One of the core complaints about ELDs is that they don't understand a trucker's body or the context. A trucker could be totally alert and just 20 minutes away from home, but legally required to stop for 10 hours if they ran out of driving time. But ironically, there's now a growing market of technologies designed to more accurately diagnose fatigue, and they are much more intrusive than ELDs. A company called SmartCap makes hats that measure brain waves and gives you a fatigue rating. Another, called Seeing Machines, uses computer vision to watch a driver's eyelids. And in 2020, Mercedes plans to release a vest that can detect a driver heart attack and stop the truck. Plenty of industries watch their employees quite closely, but trucking is unique because a truck is both a workplace and a home.
Trucks are such personal spaces because of the length of time drivers are in them. Like, some drivers drive with their families, they drive with their dogs, right? Like, they have a bed there, they eat their meals there. It is a different sort of workplace than, you know, a convenience store that you go to and then you go home, right? Like, it is your home for a period of time. And so privacy invasions in that context, I think, are felt in a more acute way than they might be in some other industries.
It's hard to see intrusive technologies slowing down in trucking. Services like Amazon Prime have made us accustomed to getting deliveries incredibly fast, and there's an increasing consumer demand for package location tracking. All of that requires truckers to work incredibly fast while being monitored very closely.
Ain't that funny? I can drive around all I want in this pickup. As soon as I get up in that rig, now I'm somebody's doggone prisoner in the box. I'm not a responsible individual. Doesn't matter that I serve this country, who gives a I ain't nothing. I'm just a trucker. That's all I am. Just a trucker. Just a dumb trucker.
It's interesting because, of course, surveillance has been part of the workplace since the inception of work, but at the same time, it's a change that's occurred in very large-scale form because of the capabilities of the new technologies.
There's a scene from the 1936 movie Modern Times where Charlie Chaplin's character takes a bathroom break from his assembly line job, but it doesn't take long for a video monitor to appear on screen.
Hey! Quit stalling, get back to work!
Within the transportation industry, improvements in technology have turned parodies like this into reality.
Oftentimes, it is a source of tremendous stress, and it's one of those stressors that doesn't just go away. People don't just get used to the fact that they are being observed 24/7.
We get really excited about technology holding the promise for solving social and economic problems, and it's like it almost universally doesn't, right? Or it just like moves the problem a little bit. And the reason for that is because, like, when you have a problem with deeper roots than technology, technology ends up being like a Band-Aid.
When you get out and meet actual truckers, they don't want to have to drive excessive hours or put anyone in danger on the road. But they do want people to understand that they get their jobs done in different ways. And surveillance technology doesn't always account for that.
We are actually fighting for the safety of everybody that's on the highways, everybody that's on the roads. We're not fighting just to run outlaw style. Outlaw's gone. We're the American truckers, and we're here to provide everybody and keep everybody safe.
I think the issue here is that there's a technical solution being brought to bear on a problem that is not technical. Like, the problem here is that drivers are overworked and they're not paid for all their work, right? They're severely underpaid. Trying to solve that with a technical solution feels to me incomplete. So it's like putting the onus for that problem on the people who are most affected by it, right? Have the least power to change anything.